welcome everybody to episode 2 of Wednesday Night Live right here on the ZampleBox YouTube channel. We are glad to be back and hope to entertain our viewers with episode 2. So let's get started by me introducing my amazing team and co-hosts, Brian Power, Tim Swift, Tom Harding, and Madison Javis. Also joining us tonight is Anthony from ZampleBox. Hello, everybody. We have a great show planned for tonight. We got news with Tim Swift, also CBD Talk with Madison Jarvis, and our first live ZampleBox unboxing with Tom Harding. Also joining us tonight is our special guest, Amanda Wheeler and Char Owen. Amanda is president of AVM, American Vapor Manufacturer, and Char is vice president. They are both here tonight to help us better understand their purpose within the industry and the goals they hope to achieve in the future. So let's not waste any time and jump into the news with Mr. Tim Swift.
So that was my horrible flashy intro. Okay, so I on request from last week, I was told that I did something too much.
There you go.
There's your paper tap. The papers are gone.
We want more paper taps.
More paper taps.
You know what? I would really like to do a whole entire 15-minute segment of me just tapping papers on a desk. So like ASMR or whatever they call that stuff. All right. So my purpose on the show is to bring you the news and all the goings on in the vape industry in terms of things from just informational stuff all the way down to advocacy. So I like to incorporate a little bit of that. I'll keep it short and sweet, but let me share my screen. We're going to do 3 things tonight. We're going to talk about some research that was done and some information that sometimes gets marred out on the internet. And then not only are we a vape show, but who's to say we can't also be real estate agents as well. So news at 11. And hold on, I will share away. There's that fancy button. I should have been prepared. I brought my pencil. All right, John, if you could share that screen for me.
For you, anything, Tim.
Thanks, sir. And I'm going to get real tiny. Well, we're all there. That's fine. All right, so I brought up, this actually isn't really an article. This is more of a research study that's been done. The reason why I wanted to highlight this one specifically was really to bring attention to the fact that there are people doing studies in the background that aren't just some twisted lab experiment that are, they're taking some kind of a twisted vape machine and breathing it into the faces of rats and then telling us that we're all going to perish and we're more likely to, catch some horrible side condition from vaping. So this first one, I found it, this is actually, I think, from the academic paper from Oxford Academics. So I guess we could say that it actually has some merit to it. Oxford comes with that. So this would probably be more aimed at, UK studies. But the reason why I wanted to bring it up is because one thing that we hear about a lot on, out on social media and all the other publications is the farce that vaping leads to smoking, or is a gateway to smoking, which the reality is that's a BS lie. I mean, we're all vaping to get away from smoking, and that's the intended purpose of why we do it. So this was a universal study done on dual use users. So these are people that are smoking at the same time they're vaping. Conversely, right? So there's nothing to specify that this was a vapor that turned into a smoker. The study was done based on smokers who were still smoking but also using vaping for whatever reason, either as a dual use or to quit smoking altogether. So I'm going to read a little bit here just because I think for context it helps. There's a lot of fancy acronyms and stuff in here, so try not to bore people too much. But I want to get to 2 important comments in this particular study. So the introduction is, in a sample of dual users of cigarettes and electronic nicotine delivery systems, or ENDS as we know them, we evaluated psychometric properties of ENDS versions of the Nicotine Dependence Syndrome Scale, the brief Wisconsin Inventory of Smoking Dependence Motives, and the Fagerstorm Test of Nicotine Dependence. So I want everyone to say that 10 times fast. That's a lot of consonants and vowels. Using the NDSS, we tested the hypothesis that there would be one common underlying factor of dependence across the cigarette and end scales and other product-specific factors. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to find a link between vaping and smoking and have one common item that ties the two together, which could then prove at a later time that one leads to the other and vice versa. So it duplexes, so to speak. The methods used were adult users where N equals 404. I'm a little vague on exactly what that means. It sounds like an algebra question to me. Or is that algebra where they use letters? Completed baseline cigarette and ends versions of the NDSS, WISDM, and FTND, referred to previous paragraph, and biweekly surveys of their smoking and vaping. Analysis included bifactoring or bifactor modeling, which helps to identify both general and product-specific factor for each item, an exploratory factor and analysis of the combined cigarette and ends NDSS items and examinations of concurrent and predictive validity. So this is where it got interesting for me, and I think that this is something, if you want to just throw this out, if somebody wants to say, hey, why are the kids vaping? It's just going to lead them to smoking. So at any rate, the results were as such, and then I'll wrap it up at that point. The bifactor model was not a good fit, suggesting the lack of one common underlying dependence factor. Factor analyses revealed separate, similar factors for both products, with only one factor, priority, what do you do first, smoke or you vape, showing overlap of cigarette and ends items. So here, this is key. This is where I thought this really kind of pointed to the proof. It said that ends scales significantly predicted ends use over time, but not cigarette use. So what that says is that people that start vaping tend to continue to vape, but they're less likely to go back to cigarette use. Whereas cigarette scales did not predict ends use over time. And what that says to me is that these were already smokers who may have tried vaping and they didn't get the right fit. It wasn't the right kit. It wasn't the right pod. It wasn't whatever, multiple factors here. However, what it didn't show was that their cigarette usage continued over a longer period of time. They're more likely to switch to vaping. So I think that is the two key sentences to take away from the study. However, their bifactor model was not valid because it didn't give them an underlying factor that tied the two together. This is really about nicotine dependence. And although the cigarette and ends NDSS versions showed similar factor structure, there was not a primary common underlying factor reflecting drive or tolerance, but rather product-specific factors. So effectively, something about cigarettes kept people on cigarettes, whether it was the flavor, the 4,000 other horrible chemicals, what have you, right? But I mean, they were trying to find a common tie with nicotine.
And they never found the tie correlated between vaping and smoking.
Exactly. And so bottom line is they said that they needed to look at a different model, try to separate the two and study them independently to see if there was any unique factors in those particular things that generated different results.
Maybe not comparing apples and oranges, not a burning tobacco product versus an electronic nicotine device,
right.
Maybe.
Exactly. So anybody on the panel have any questions about that study that was done?
Is there anywhere, it doesn't state if this was just done with users here in the U.S., so you're not sure about that, right?
John, this is where I'm going to say a person in the U.K. is similar to a person in the United States.
Yeah, I'm just, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, it's interesting to see studies like this being done. Unfortunately, I would like to see more of this done in the United States and not just leave it on, Public Health England. So anyway, interesting study, and you can tell your friends, no, vaping doesn't lead to smoking.
No, it doesn't.
All right, so let's move to a little bit more of a fun art. Well, it's not fun. It's not 100% fun. But
we don't
make it fun. Make it fun.
I'm going to, because it has wonderful visual aids.
It has visual aids. I like
pictures. This is where we're gonna separate the men from the boys in terms of states, right? So this is the best and worst states to vape ranked.
Ooh.
Right.
Wait. Before we look, can we all vote and say what do we think is the worst state to vape?
New York.
California.
I'd say New York, Michigan, California have to be up there.
Yeah.
I wonder what those red states are.
Yeah, well, I think we can all kind of determine which ones are the good ones and which ones are the bad ones, and then we got some floaters, right? We got some people that are kind of now. I'll try to put all this into a nutshell, but so this is an organization or a conglomerate of people. The Consumer Choice Center, a U.S.-based consumer advocacy group, recently released a report looking at vape laws across the U.S. The group sought to rate different states on their current vape laws. The U.S. Vaping Index, as the report is called, looked at several factors to determine which states were vaping friendly and which ones were not. So they grouped it into 3 different sections, and they looked at 3 specific criteria. And those specific criteria were whether or not the state included a flavor ban altogether, whether taxation had been excised against vaping products, and online sales, whether or not people could get stuff online. Because I think in California, even though there's a flavor ban, you can still order online.
You can still order. Yeah, the taxation part was depending if the actual tax was higher than what the federal tax was, correct?
And they do bring that up in this particular article. This was interesting to me. So there was a point system that was offered. So it said based on each state's performance and in any of these categories, they were assigned a score by the index. If a state performed well in all 3 categories, they received a score of between 21 and 30 points, which gave that state an A grade. The other scoring categories were as follows. So if you were a C, you only got 11 to 20 points, or you got 11 to 20 points. And if you were an F, we all know what that means. You know, that was the letter you didn't want to bring home to mom and dad.
You could dock that letter and make it a B, though.
Right. So the index is a comprehensive report as every state, including Washington, D.C., which is not a state, was examined. The index did not look at pending legislation like Michigan. So they're just judging Michigan on the state of affairs now.
Just current legislation, not anything that's in the works.
Correct.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
just correct.
And then they compared states to federal government too. So they looked to see if the states won up to any federal standards, for example, T21 or something like that. Because as far as I know, there's no particular federal levies other than, FDA PMTA, which is not a hindrance on people vaping in their states. And there's no flavor ban from the federal government. So it's just T21, and they haven't excised the tax across the board. So total bans on online sales got no points. A few restrictions on online sales got 5 points, and no restrictions on online sales got 10 points. So higher score, this is not golf, so higher score was better. The index ranked all 50 states, including Washington, D.C., but excluded Puerto Rico and U.S. territories like Guam. The rankings were as follows. So out of the 51 identified states, which included D.C., 25 states got an A. So if you're in one of those 25 states, give yourselves a round of applause.
Yeah.
Thank your governors. 20 states got a C, so somewhere down the middle. And 6 states, you guys just need to freaking move.
What could those 6 states be?
Yeah.
Who can they be?
I can recommend the state of Georgia if you want to be in an A. So, so at any rate, they didn't really go into a lot of detail here. But let's go back to the fancy visual aid.
Oh,
look at that.
So that's basically your demographic right there.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit all over the place. I mean, I think everybody's taking their own actions or deciding to do what it is they want to do, which is why we promote advocacy here, because we can talk about the PMTA, which is important because it could impact us as a whole, right? Liquids and devices don't get through. It's illegal. We can't get our hands on it, right?
Right.
But what could impact us today, tomorrow, is people passing legislation in a state to take those rights away from you. So I'm not suggesting that you move. I suggest that you fight for your rights, right? I mean, if you have a chance to stand up and appear at hearings and things of that nature, or write your senators, your governors, get your voice heard. Maybe you can flip the color of your state another direction. Right?
Yeah, we always stress for everyone to pay attention to their local laws. Just pay attention to what's going on in your city and your state.
Exactly. And so independently, we've brought up before on the previous show, last week's show, we talked about for the November 3rd election, there are some tax propositions on the table for Oregon and Colorado. So take note of that, which will move me directly into our advocacy piece. And this is something that we've talked about before, but not on this show since we're only on show number 2. So we're going to revisit this one as well. Important, protect vape mail. Keep U.S. vape mail legal.
Yeah.
So for those that are unsure of exactly what this means or maybe didn't know, is that Feinstein, I forget her first name at this, but she sponsored a,
Frankenstein.
yeah, thank you. She sponsored a bill that effectively would say that the United States Postal Service can no longer carry your vape stuff. So that includes e-liquids, hardware, any of your favorite online stores shipping to you, as well as vendors shipping to your local vape shops or your other online distributors. So her bill basically would effectively take away the ability for the United States Postal Service to carry vape mail. Now, where that's important is that's if it happened. Let's just say for the simple fact that we did lose USPS. Yes, there's FedEx. Yes, there's UPS. There's other options, but those rates are going to go up because FedEx and UPS are automatically more expensive than the post office per se right now, unless they maybe tweak it that route. But what you can do, because this bill went in reverse. Normally it goes House, Senate, President. This one started in the Senate, and now it's backtracked to the House. So it got bipartisan support in the Senate, and now it's sitting on the House floor. It's parked. It's sitting on the table, and they could literally call this up at any moment in the middle of the night during a budget bill meeting or something, and say, "Hey, let's go ahead and pass the bill that says the post office can't ship your vape mail." So, another important point is it's not just about us too. Think about all the older people who are vaping that are saving their lives, and they don't really know any other way of getting their stuff. You know, they don't know, they don't under, you know, somebody who's in their 60s or their 70s or their 80s. This could impact them and limit their ability to get to stuff. So it's important that we all use our voice where we can. So head on over to CASAA.org. That's CASAA.org. You can go to the Calls to Action National section, and they have a big red button that says Take Action. And if you're signed up for CASAA, this is what I love. You can click on this, and it will take you to where basically they prescribed a message that you can send off to your U.S. representative. If you are logged in and signed up, those U.S. representatives automatically come up in this top section. They
Right.
give you an additional section where you can share your story. So if you want to add some content to that, you're free to do so, and then you send it right off. So I mean, this is a no effort deal, kids. It's a no effort deal. They do it all for you over there at CASA. So get over there and make your voice heard, and let your senators know or your representatives know. No, we like the Postal Service, even though they misdeliver my mail every now and again. But
Yeah.
I want my vape mail.
Yeah, and
So
Tim, I believe we looked into this when it was kind of spurring
Yeah.
around, a month or two ago. I believe, to switch from USPS for ZampleBox to ship, say, FedEx or UPS would be almost an additional $8 to $10 of shipping costs.
yeah, and you're Anthony, you're spot on because there's even some companies that are actually offering those services, and you can immediately see that when you're in your cart and you're getting ready to check out. You can see the cost differences. And unfortunately, with a lot of these vape vendors, I mean, even places like Element or any of the other big names that are out there, they do their best to establish discount shipping rates with those other carriers. They can negotiate that stuff, but sometimes that's not always successful. So I just encourage everybody watching the show, if you want to get heard, you don't even have to speak with your mouth. You get to speak with your fingers.
Yeah.
Tell your representatives.
Keyboard warriors. We need more of those.
Yep, hammer away. Anyway, that's going to end the news. And again, advocacy, advocacy, advocacy. Do your thing.
Do your thing. No, has there been any other word on that bill at all? It's kind of just disappeared.
I watch it. I go over and check the hospital. It is literally just sitting on a desk.
Probably
Nine actions since I think July.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's a thing called an election coming up. I think that's what's holding that
Yeah,
up.
yeah. I
Well,
think we'll see some movement after election season.
Go ahead, Amanda.
so I was involved a little bit in the lobbying efforts against that bill. And it's kind of interesting. The reason why we haven't heard about anything that's kind of parked right now is, the Democrats hold the majority in the House, and they felt that that bill did not go far enough. It was not extreme enough. And so they are waiting for something more extreme to come along. They feel that was not extreme enough.
That makes sense. That does
Which,
make
it's got the bill parked, so I'll take it, and we'll try to improve our situation from there.
Yeah.
That's right.
We are going to jump into our two guests tonight. Our guest for tonight is Amanda Wheeler, President, and Char Owens, Vice President of AVM, an advocacy group who has been a big part of helping small business with PMTA submissions and cost. Hello, Amy and Char, and welcome to Wednesday Night Live. Hello, everybody! Do the wave. This wave stretches
Is it
throughout
Amy
the
or
whole
Amanda,
country.
John?
I said Amanda. I'm sorry. Yeah. For some reason, I said Amy. I don't know why.
It's happened to me my entire life. I think it's just those first two letters, Amy or Amber. I always get those. I'm used to it.
Yeah. Welcome to the show, you guys. We're going to get started. I'm going to go ahead and start with our first question, which is going to help a lot of people. But can you help our viewers better understand what AVM is about and what you guys are doing to help the industry? Because you're kind of a new organization.
We are. We're new as an organization, but we kind of have been doing this work for about a year in a more loosely organized fashion, and so we decided to continue on to really accomplish what we need to accomplish in the PMTA process. We had to make it official and get properly organized in order to do that. But so AVM has two main functions. Number one is obviously working with regulators at FDA, members of the administration, Congress, to try to get PMTA reform for small independent manufacturers, especially over in the open systems part of the industry where it's predominantly small businesses that are manufacturing those products. You guys probably know the PMTA, the full PMTA requirements cost many millions of dollars to do. And so this has been an effort that's been going on for a long time to get some of those regulations trimmed down for the independent vapor industry. And then kind of the other half of what AVM does, Char worked very hard, and she can speak to this. She worked very, very hard to make sure that hundreds of businesses were able to submit enough documentation to get their PMTAs accepted. But now that those PMTAs are accepted, we're kind of taking on the next piece of the puzzle, which is, once we get into the review period, these applications will be receiving deficiency notices for lack of testing. And so we want to provide, these business owners that did all this hard work to submit with some good quality, affordable testing that they can provide as a further submission with their PMTA.
Yeah. Has that been going through pretty smoothly? From what I've seen by your guys' numbers, you guys have been really taking off.
As far as our membership numbers?
Yeah, your membership numbers.
Oh, yeah, membership. I think, Char, I believe we're around 40 members right now.
So, yeah. We were at 35, but we had about 5 join this week.
Yeah, so we're at about 40 right now, which to me is fat. I think it's kind of a vote of confidence from all of the people that have been working with Char and I for the past year, because the most of the people that have joined already, they don't even have their acceptance letters yet. They just have seen the acceptance letters that have come out of Char's PMTA model so far, and we all follow the same method. So everybody's taking that leap of faith with us that we're going to get accepted and trying to get a jump on that process of what's next.
Awesome. And I got one more question for you before I let the other panel go after you guys, because I was going through your page and I went down to the bottom there and I saw bronze level, silver level, and gold level. Can you guys touch a little bit about how that works and what it means, those tiers, as far as your membership?
Yeah. Char, do you want to take that or you want me to take that? I feel like I'm talking too much.
Oh, I'm really happy that you talk too much.
I know.
I'm so totally cool with that. Have fun. Go on after it.
Okay, well let me open up a new tab on my browser to make sure I have all of this straight.
I will tell you though, she sold me on the gold. So
she sold you?
Yeah, she sold my IT skill sets on the gold. So
we did. We put you to work, Char.
You did.
So the bronze membership, that's kind of like our very basic membership. It's just to have a full membership in AVM, to have your business and your PMTAs represented in the lobbying work that we're doing with HHS, FDA, etc. Obviously you have access to all the member information about, what progress we're making, what's coming up, who we're meeting with, what we're discussing, how it's all going. So you have all of the sort of inside information. And then, also kind of promoting people's businesses on our social media and website. And then, anybody that's a member of AVM at any level, bronze, silver, or gold, is able to participate in testing. The testing that AVM is working on, which is a topic in and of itself that we can get to in a minute. And that bronze level, it's a $1,500 annual membership. So it's we wanted to keep it very affordable for people that just wanted to get in at a minimal cost. So it's about $1,500 a year just to join as a bronze member. Then kind of the next level up, we have the silver membership. That's a $5,000 annual membership, and you get some extras that you don't get with the bronze level. You'll have your company more prominently featured on the homepage of our website, featured in the newsletter and podcast that Char and I are starting. And then, we'll also be doing some webinars with some kind of guest speakers that have expertise related to PMTA, whether that be compliance, regulatory expertise, scientists, as we do have scientists that we're working with, or any of our political consultants, that might, do different things in these webinars to kind of educate people on a more in-depth level of stuff that business owners really could benefit from having a little extra knowledge. And then, one of the cool things about the silver member level, I think is cool because I'm a political junkie and a political nerd, is that if your company wants to go and meet with your members of Congress, either in the House or the Senate, AVM will, set up and facilitate those meetings with you. That's actually quite hard to set up sometimes with those people. And so it's just a tool to give people access, to use our lobbying resources that we have to set up and facilitate those meetings. And then, if people want, somebody from AVM to attend those meetings with them, we're happy to. So we're always looking to build our allies in Congress. And I think it's great when they don't just hear from the leaders of a trade association, when they hear from their actual constituents. So that's just something else that we want to help silver members with, the ones that are interested in going a little further with their advocacy of their business. And then the last membership that we have is the gold membership. And this one is substantially different than the lower tier memberships. It's $15,000 for a year. It includes everything that is in the silver and bronze levels, but it's a little more in depth because you have a little more access, to have Q&A with the scientific team, with the political teams about what's going on with FDA. And then why Char said that we're selling her services at the gold level is because we are. And it's very effective because Char's services are in demand. They're proven effective and in demand.
You just walk around with the gold emblem around yourself, Char.
I don't think so. I'm trying to get back underneath my rock, but everybody keeps shoving me back out of it again.
My part of AVM is the political part, so I'm just like the silver player on the team. Char is like our gold star player on the team. Because what Char has been able to do, and I'll let her talk about this, but she was able to figure out how to provide documentation to the masses, right? And for anybody that was a part of the original effort that we did, will remember that there were fees involved for some of that document preparation. Very minimal fees, but there were fees involved, and there will be documentation that we have to continue to do with our testing results and all of that, supplements on literature reviews, all of that sort of thing. And so what that means is that all of that is included with the gold membership, any of that documentation that people need, instead of having to sort of pay for that separately like we were doing before.
Very nice.
And there is
awesome.
a monthly payment plan if if they need it for either one of those options, the silver or the gold.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was like, okay, I need to understand how that all worked, and I thank you for letting our viewers understand how that all works. We're gonna have Brian got a question for you. Brian, you're up.
Yeah, I got a few. I'm kind of curious how you guys kind of like really met, like everyone in like the group there, how you guys all like met and decided to like form up.
Necessity?
Necessity.
Because you were there from day one of the PMTA sharing group. You take that question.
Well, I did start the group, and I drug as many people. We actually got all the documentation from the FDA. It listed all the manufacturers, and we called each one of them to say, "Hey, we're starting this group, and we're not dying, right? We're not leaving. So we're gonna figure this out." We're going to figure this out. We're not dying. So y'all come on board and let's figure out, because I'm a 20-year server engineer. Obviously, I can do some documentation. And my husband's a programmer. So obviously, we can replicate that documentation. So what these little shops were missing was the IT piece of it, information technology. They don't have an IT team. Yeah. So it wasn't going to be difficult for my husband and I to go through and do all this documentation, but most of them couldn't. Yeah. So it needed to be that they could get access to that for free. Yeah. So the first thing I realized was that if I make it by myself, then I have no voice, like literally no voice.
Right.
And so many people out there lose the vape that they stop smoking on. So, you don't want to do that. If they stop smoking with, Bubba's bubble gum, you don't want them not to have that, because it puts them at risk of going back. Exactly. So at the same time I was doing that, Amanda was lobbying or starting a lobby process that the Fight to Survive letter, right?
Yep. And it was like the exact same month. We both started doing these two separate pieces at the same time without knowing the other one was doing it.
Yeah.
And she was actually giving them my PMTA plan without knowing it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because you guys pretty much started as a Facebook group, correct? Is how it all started? Yes. As a Facebook group before you moved into
the PMTA side of it. The PMTA sharing group did. It's kind of evolved into the AVM, which is why I think we've got a good rapport with people, because we've already shown that we're going to fight as hard as we possibly. We're going to make it happen. So we're not going anywhere. That's what was that you always said, Amanda?
We didn't come this far to only come this far.
Exactly. We're going nowhere. So that was her theory and her motto and mine too. So oddly enough, we just both did one half of the piece and then ended up meeting each other later.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It is. Brian, you have some more questions? Yeah, you have one more question, Brian?
Yeah, I kind of went through this with Char a little bit before. I was kind of curious if you guys had any involvement in the industry before starting all this. Like, were you guys liquids, just consumers, just work in shops, any other advocacy stuff before any of this stuff? Like, just like you just appeared in like the PMTA groups? Like, how did that? Did you guys have any background on it before?
Oh, I've been all over advocacy and her too. She's Rocky Mountain Smoke Free, Arizona Smoke Free.
Yeah, I'm the executive director of our state group in Arizona, and then the president of our state advocacy group in Colorado.
and I am incredibly active in Texas, which we got an A. Thank you.
I was waiting for somebody to say their state got an A.
We got
Move
an
to
A.
Texas, everyone.
Yep.
Move to Texas.
But what we found in advocacy in Texas is if you get involved before sessions even going, so you start out by going and you never stop. You just go meet these people. It
It's
doesn't
year
matter.
round.
It's year round. It doesn't matter if there's a bill going in or anything else.
You have
Call
sessions on the floor that's all year.
It's harder to fight it after it's already on the table. So it's much easier to fight it when it's not on that table.
Yeah, let me add Tim's response there. Tim, everybody is already moving to Texas. So
they really are.
Especially if you live in California.
I can't blame them. It's an awesome state, but I can't blame them.
Yeah. Tim is up next with a couple of questions for you guys. Tim, the floor is yours.
You're muted, Tim.
You're muted, Tim. We love the way you sound.
You don't like my miming? What's wrong with you guys?
You weren't doing any hand stuff.
Yeah.
I almost shot a mime, so mimes
I'm
are bad.
acting out your ZB robot. Anthony.
Real quick, to go back to Brian's previous question, just to add to that, Char and I both are e-liquid manufacturers, which is like why we're so focused on PMTA, because we're small manufacturers and we knew how hard it was, and that it's from an advocacy background and also a business background. We're both obviously vape as well.
So you guys.
Go ahead, John. Ask your other question.
So you guys both currently have lines available, right?
Yes.
No? Yeah. Oh, awesome. I didn't know that. All right, Tim, it's yours.
Maybe they can do a plug for their juice
lines
at the end of the show or at the
end.
end of their segments, because we don't want to skip over any opportunistic plugs. But no,
Why do I feel like I'm on NPR?
I'm enjoying my new microphone.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Tim, the floor is yours, Tim.
No, it's a great lead-in for my first question, because being that you have your own juice lines and you're involved in the PMTA process, my first question was for either one, both. Do you feel good about the PMTA process and the success rate of approvals moving forward, or do you feel like there's a bit of a log jam?
I feel great about it. I don't know about you, Amanda.
Yeah, so I mean, I might want you to clarify your question a little bit. I feel good about acceptances. As far as getting all the way in to the end with marketing orders, that's still the battle that we're fighting right now. And we've already seen that there's definitely a log jam, because the rate that they're getting through these applications is moving at a snail's pace, because they've got at least 2 million SKUs just from Open Vape right now.
So then
you're welcome, FDA.
You asked for it.
Exactly.
They did not see me coming. You're welcome.
That was all Char.
Hey, just seeing them put out an ad to hire people to do this was just
great.
It's just like, yes.
Icing on the cake.
Oh, it's great.
All you vapors that are out there that want a job with the FDA, this is your chance right now to help
I
the
would just
industry.
accept
And
it.
Exactly. If you get one and you see mine come through, just go ahead and type accept.
Just tell them you don't need that other stamp. Just give me the one that says accepted, not just.
I don't want to work for Twitter and be a fact checker. I want to work for the FDA and just approve all the PMTAs at accelerated rate.
Yeah.
So I'll rephrase that. Maybe approvals might not have been the right choice of words, because I know we're still in the early stages. So acceptances, you feel good about that. But Madison and I were actually looking at the Q&A or the FAQ from the FDA website, and they did state in there, now whether there's an ounce of truth in it, but it just said that they felt pretty good. This is the FDA talking, that a lot of the products would make it through the process at some point. So I guess it's both words are in play there. So, okay, answered the question. Second question, will the cost impacts of the PMTA prove to be detrimental to some despite getting their PMTA submitted and accepted? Will they see people dropping out at that point?
You'll never be able to get it, cheap enough to where every single, business could possibly get through. But I can tell you that it's going to be, it's going to be cheap enough for my business to get through. And I'm a tiny shop in Texas.
Yeah.
So if I can pull it off, then, many can. What we're trying to do is to get it low enough to where, you can take out a small business loan and still get there.
Yeah.
There are all kinds of options, and it's all depending on how hard you want to fight for it.
Right.
Yeah, I think that was just something that was kind of glaring for all of us and people that maybe had just started to learn about the PMTA process that gets thrown out all the time. It's going to be so expensive for everybody to get through. There's, they're not going to be able to afford it.
We have cut that cost, especially in the first part of the phase. That was supposed to be, $50,000 a SKU to get through that first phase because of environmental assessments and everything. And we got everybody through for like $1,300. So,
that's
wow, that's huge. Yeah.
So after tonight, all of us are going to be e-liquid manufacturers. It's too late.
It's too late. It's too late.
We're wanting precedence.
You had to
now.
get in the game before August.
Before.
We're counting on your precedence.
We're too late. We'll have to wait. Actually, from what we understand, nobody's going to be able to do anything as far as a new manufacturer for quite some time.
No, so if the products were on the market as of August 8th, 2016, and the company submitted before the deadline, or there was some confusion because they were still taking things after the deadline, but just say you submitted around the deadline, right? You can stay on the market until they either, give you a marketing order, then you're good forever, or, you have to meet some requirements with the marketing order, but assuming you meet those, you're good. But you could also get rejected. If you get rejected, you're going to have to pull all of those products off the market immediately. But if somebody right now wanted to introduce a new product in the market, they would have to spend all the time and effort preparing their PMTA, go through that whole review process without having the product on the market, not making a penny from the product. And they have to wait until they get that final marketing order before they can even begin to sell that product. And so it was really important that we took these products that we had available that were legally on the market and had those products remain on the market. Because if we had this big, interim without any products on the market and all these new products waiting for approval, the entire industry would just die. And so Char and I were really on a very intense mission to preserve as much of the marketplace as we could, which is why we just sent in all the SKUs people wanted to file on, because we were really just trying to preserve the industry.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So I don't think I really need to ask my third question, but I'll mention it just for posterity. So the question was, do you see the sheer volume of PMTAs and the load caused the FDA to abbreviate or change things at some point, good or bad? And I think you guys basically answered the question, is that it's still an ongoing process and you're working with them to streamline it almost like in real time.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we had been working with HHS for an entire year before the deadline. And so they we had been working with the White House because, of course, the administration appoints the people who lead FDA and HHS, and they kind of give them a general idea of the direction they want certain things to go. And so, the White House has a bit of say-so over it. HHS, is the agency that FDA is, underneath. So HHS has a lot of say over it with Secretary Azar. And then, of course, FDA with the FDA commissioner, and then the director of the Center of Tobacco Products. So there are layers of people we have to lobby on this. And of course, we always get our people that are friendly to us on Capitol Hill to, send their input to FDA about this. But what we were told during this year that we were working on this with HHS and the White House is that, that the FDA had been given a certain amount of direction to show some latitude in what they were accepting for the deadline so that they didn't immediately knock anybody out of business. And that in the 12 months following the deadline, they would be updating their guidelines. And so that's what we've continue to work with them on, is what that update of the guidelines is going to look like, and how we can get it to a point where independent manufacturers are treated proportionately to their resources, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfectly good sense. So basically, for everybody watching the show, the unsung heroes are on the program right now.
That's right.
We
So
did.
we don't hear
We
much
did
on the news.
out.
So.
I pulled. I can't tell you how many 36-hour shifts along with my husband. In fact, one of the comments was it was like a 24-hour PMTA helpline. You know,
I can imagine.
it's kind of frustrating though that we had to do that as opposed to why wasn't there an FDA
Right.
Yeah.
helpline?
Why wasn't it clear cut from the beginning from the FDA like it was supposed to be?
Yeah.
Right.
Sean hates his state. I'm sorry, buddy.
Sean moved to Texas.
Moved to Texas.
Char's in
just-
Texas. Everyone's
I'm
there.
fighting my butt off there. Yeah.
Okay, Maddie, you're up for some questions for the ladies.
Well, I'm not really, I don't know, Char, if you really should be surprised. I mean, we all know the federal government's IT system is ancient. I mean, granted, they might have started a lot of it, but it is ancient compared to the, private sector. So I'm not really surprised that they don't have a system in place to do what you did.
Oh, you probably have not. I mean, if you've dealt with eSubmitter, I'm pretty sure it was built somewhere back in the 80s. And literally, I think it's still running DOS. I'm almost positive.
Well, I'm on the flip side of IT. So your server, I'm actually network and voice.
Yeah.
So I've seen their network stuff, and their call manager running what is it, version 5 in some parts. I'm like, oh my God,
yeah.
we're on 12 basically. Makes me cringe. Okay, so a lot of my questions are kind of based off of your interview last week, Amanda, that you did with Phil and Dimitri, that I kind of had some follow-up questions with it. So
Yeah, sure.
So I absolutely loved your story about being this stay-at-home mom to change the perception of vaping of, the soccer mom. I think I think sometimes doesn't get played out enough. Especially, there's not very many female vapers. So kind of a lot of questions, basically mom vape questions.
Sure.
So you talked about, we have states that have already banned flavors, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you think would be the best way to go revisit those legislations after the PMTA has been approved?
Well, that's a good question. I think with fiscal impact data, a lot of how Florida Smoke Free was able to avoid theirs was they did an incredible amount of work with the governor's office showing the fiscal impact. In Colorado last year, we had a flavor ban on the table before COVID crept in, and we had adult only stores carved out of that flavor ban, which we were still going to try and kill it completely, but we had at least carved out the adult only stores. And the reason why they gave us that carve out is we showed them the fiscal impact it was going to have to the Colorado economy. And so I think, after the damage is already done, one of the few helpful things that we could take out of that is really solid data on the fiscal impact that those actions have taken on the state. So I think that's one way. I think another way is to sort of collect and demonstrate data on black market activity surrounding that, because when there are bans, there is a tremendous amount of gray and black market activity, which has various consequences associated with it. It sends a lot of revenue across state lines because people then go and then they bring stuff back into the state. Sometimes there are considerations of product safety. If you have a ban in place, people go back to the stone ages of vaping, of making stuff on their kitchen counters and in garages and stuff. And we've come a long way as an industry since then, but these bans kind of drive people back to that. And so I think collecting data on anything associated with that makes a compelling case. I think continuing to monitor what's going on with youth usage in the aftermath of those kinds of bans could provide helpful data on that. But I think in places where that's already happened, once we start getting through the end of this PMTA process, which is quite a long way down the road at this point, at least a year. At the end of this process, we are going to have vapor products that have been designated by the federal government as appropriate for the protection of public health, because that is the absolute criteria. That's what all the expensive science is for them to evaluate whether or not this product is appropriate for the protection of public health. And so when we get through this process, we're going to have something that the federal government has given their blessing to sell in the United States based on the reasoning that it is helping the public health. It will, I believe, be very hard for states to justify outlawing products that the federal government has deemed beneficial for public health. And so I think coming back with data about the consequences of the flavor bans, as well as, when we get through this PMTA process, really delivering a strong message and using that marketing approval and that designation to really go and educate these people, like, hey, these aren't the big scary products that all of Michael Bloomberg's lobbying groups warned you about. These are things that have been thoroughly evaluated by some of our nation's top scientists and deemed as a good thing for public health. I think it's a persuasive argument, and I hope that some of these products can get through this process quickly so that states that have banned them can revisit this.
Can I add something real quick to that? Because you brought up the health. Is it going to be on the states or the federal, or is it going to be on us or the federal to get, like, say, California Health Department to push through that bill, that the FDA passes? So if the FDA says, hey, this is good for people's health, it's going to help people, and some states are going to say no.
Right.
Is it going to be on the federal government, or is that something we should do as consumers by pushing the health departments in our states? Because they're going to have to clearly get through this health department before it even gets to legislation at all. Am I right? Isn't that how it works? I think.
Well, no matter what, anytime we're talking about advocacy, more consumer involvement is always helpful. Yeah. So consumers getting involved in outreach to health departments, to the federal government, to the state government is always beneficial, because, I think sometimes there is more credibility in the eyes of policymakers when they hear from consumers, because even though our businesses are small and we all started out as vapers before we had these businesses, they still look at us as financially motivated. And so when they hear directly from consumers, that's always a more powerful message than hearing from somebody that they consider to be financially motivated. But California is an interesting example to use, because California, in their flavor ban that they recently just did, they were not concerned with PMTA status, or even a step beyond that, products that have received what they call an MRTP designation, which is a modified risk tobacco product, which once you have a PMTA and FDA has given you marketing approval, you can go a step further for this MRTP designation, which is the FDA giving you permission to make health claims in your advertising of your product. So that could enable you to say that your product has been shown to be safer than smoking, a safer alternative to smoking, which we're not currently allowed to say. So California decided with snus, which already has a PMTA, snus already has an MRTP designation, that flavored snus products are still illegal in the state of California. And so, that brings up an interesting legal question between, state versus federal authority, because we have a lot of laws relating to interstate commerce in the United States, that state governments can't put limits on interstate commerce. And obviously those flavor bans, especially when they've been given federal marketing approval, to then be banned by the state, it creates a lot of interesting legal issues with interstate commerce laws. And then I think that is also a place where lawsuit efforts can be fought to establish legal precedent in that arena.
Okay. I'm sorry, Madison. I had to ask that question. Go ahead.
Okay, so all right, so off of this perception that vaping needs to change, it's kind of like maybe an idea / question. Do you think that maybe with this smoke-free kids agenda and the education that it's pushing, so it's giving this perception to these children, do you think us as a vaping industry, whether vapers or manufacturers or wherever you sit in this industry, do you think that we should entice moms and dads of this industry to make educational videos for children to teach them about vaping, to tell them, you know, kind of don't smoke, don't vape, like kind of like we do with our kids, and make this kind of video to combat this smoke-free education's agenda?
Oh, that's such an interesting question. Yes and no. Yes, because it's a great idea, and I think there's a ton of merit to doing that. No, because I know how they would twist that against us, right?
Yeah.
Love Juul or hate Juul, you can't argue that tobacco-free kids stomped them for getting involved in tobacco use prevention education. And it's a double-edged sword, because anything that we you know, as an industry tried to put forward as so far as like a public education campaign or anything like that, it would always be looked at as having an ulterior motive. And so that's kind of complicated, because we've had a lot of people that I've talked to personally that have tried to talk to their local school or their local PTA, or about including people that actually understand this to participate in some of the prevention efforts. And I think a lot of those people that have made that attempt have been rejected and treated kind of poorly for broaching that with schools or school boards or whatnot. And so I personally think it would be a great thing to do. But I've seen the efforts of a lot of people that I respect, you know, be completely not only unappreciated, but used as a pretext to smear this person's credibility. So it's sad.
Yeah. Madison, you got one more?
Yeah, I got a fewer questions. I guess I'll skip over the other ones. So in your interview, you guys were talking about why you guys basically created AVM. Like, like we had so many organizations out there. Why not, you know, why another one? Right. And so I saw you were like, because it's a fresh start. One, you guys have been doing it for a year. You kind of deserve the recognition and that fresh start, compared to a lot of organizations that have a lot of negative connotation behind it, or groups that don't like them. So because we do have a lot of these, like the VTA and CASA, where there's groups of people who don't like them for various reasons, what are you guys going to kind of do when you start to get big enough and that starts to happen?
Well, we have a very specific purpose. It's not, you know, it's a very finite purpose. It's to get people to marketing orders, and that wasn't being fulfilled by any other you know, advocacy group out there. So it's really a finite purpose, and it's really a finite set of people that actually need that service. So, and I love it, Amanda, we get questions all the time for, you know, retail people saying, you know, how can I donate? How can I join? And I'm like, well, you know, we appreciate it, but there are other organizations that you can put your money towards that would be better, your state org, whatever, that would be better and serve you better. We're here really to serve the small business or the independent e-liquid manufacturers.
Hey, you're right. Now that I think about it, there wasn't really any other organization doing what you guys were doing prior to you guys. I mean, nobody was even, there was discussions of PMTAs, but basically that's where it kind of ended. You know, basically just basically saying it's going to cost this much. It's the end of all ends. So, and you guys stepped in and said, no, we can simplify it and make it a lot easier for everyone, small businesses, to actually get this process done. And Madison, you have one more question, or could I jump to?
I do have
one more question. One more thing about the last question. Is that okay?
Yeah, go. Knock it out.
Kind of special shout out to United Vapers Alliance and CASA both, because those are not industry groups, those are consumer groups, but those were two groups that were actually doing a lot to promote this idea of PMTA reform with their consumer bases. Obviously UVA threw two giant rallies on the lawn of the White House. The last one was 100% about this topic. The first one was also about flavor ban, because that's when the federal flavor ban talk was hot and heavy last year. But UVA did a lot to try to spread the message, including taking it right to the White House lawn. And then CASA has also done a lot to really educate people and get increased awareness around the topic. So they were both very good. But our, with like VTA and like other industry groups, there wasn't a lot of lobbying happening to like change the requirements or, compliance resources to help businesses comply. And so it was really just out of pure necessity. Yep. But shout out to UVA and CASA.
Well, and SFATA, because they're doing the REN program now, so which will really help us, the manufacturers, post market surveillance. So we've got people that are helping.
Yeah.
All right. So my last question I have is about the clinical studies that have to be done in the PMTA. Are any of these clinical studies or references that we could use in the PMTA allowed to be from outside of the United States?
Well, that's one of the things that we're working on, trying to get the FDA to allow us to use already published research, whether that be US-based, UK-based, Australia-based, wherever that might be coming from. Because part of what makes PMTA so expensive in its current form is they want a clinical trial on every product. They want a clinical trial on my strawberry, and then they want a clinical trial on my strawberry banana, and then they want what I mean. And it's ridiculous because clinical trials are hard and they take a very long time to conduct, and they're very expensive. And so that's something that we need to continue working with them on is taking that out to where we don't have to run a clinical trial for every single little product we make, despite minor differences, and that ability to use already conducted research, as long as it's obviously peer reviewed and credible and all of that sort of thing. There is a scientific point to be made about extrapolating results between different cultures, which I think is, from a biological perspective, pretty flimsy, because like UK lungs are the same as my lungs, I'm pretty sure. But when you start talking about any kind of studies that would pertain to like cultural perceptions of a product, there might be a basis there for them to say that doesn't translate to the United States. But I personally think if it's good quality research, it should translate.
Yeah, that would make sense. All right, Tom, you're up. He's going to turn his mic on. Go ahead, Tom. Question for the ladies.
Okay. You guys kind of answered one of my questions already, so I'll ask a different one. First off, are either of your liquid lines in ZampleBox? If not, why not?
That was my question, Tom. Come on, I'm the ZampleBox guy.
Sorry.
You probably don't want my line in there. I have about 866 recipes, and I put them all through the FDA.
Hey, we love flavors here at ZampleBox, Char. We could talk after this.
I put all of them in. I wasn't getting rid of anything until I absolutely had to.
Well, ours are not in there, but happy to discuss that if the details of that. We'd be happy to.
Okay. Now
we can poll
Tom,
the audience. Audience, do you want Char and Amanda's lines on your sample boxes coming up? Man, we're making a hard pitch, aren't we?
My one question is back about the membership dues for the different tiers. What does that money go to?
I love that Shameless plug. Flash. Yeah, that was great. So the membership dues, primarily the vast majority of that, I would say probably 95% of that is going to lobbying and lobbying related expenses, because proper DC lobbying is very expensive. You're paying for connections and influence and access, which is kind of at a premium. But yeah, the membership dues go primarily to lobbying. We have like a few organizational expenses, like we have to pay somebody to prepare our taxes. We have to pay for our domain on the web every month. Like, we have merchant processor fees, like we're normal kind of expenses, but overwhelming majority straight to, influencing the process through lobbying.
But Amanda and I are free labor. So
yeah, right now AVM has no paid employees. This is a volunteer effort.
All an effort of love.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all I got, because as I said, you guys answered my other one. So
Most of your questions. So we're going to jump right into Mr. Anthony. I'm sorry that Tom stole your first question.
Gosh, yeah, I want to talk to these guys about getting their juices in, which I think we should. We're gonna have to talk after this.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first kind of question I had was, how does like a normal manufacturer get involved with you guys? Is it just kind of reaching out via your guys' feed? I mean, it sounded like you guys starting a podcast. Follow along.
Yeah, we're going to be rolling out our first podcast. I am not great at technology and streaming. Char's really good at technology, but I know there's more than one type of technology. So I don't know if Char's got the streaming expertise or not, but we're going to have to iron out, exactly how we're going to do all the technical stuff around the podcast. But yeah, we'll be starting that within the next week or two. But really, if people want to connect, we're on Facebook and Twitter. Our website is called theavm.org. There's a contact page on there where you can send us an email. It forwards to me and Char's inbox. So, if you contact us through the contact form on our website, it'll go to both Char and I.
So I can direct it. Hey, Char. Hey, Amanda.
Yeah, pretty much. It'll show up to both of us because it's just our info at the AVM. It forwards to both of us. But yeah, I mean, people can sign up for memberships directly through the website. If people want monthly memberships on Silver and Gold, reach out to Char and I on that contact form, and we'll set you up on monthly. That's not up on that page, but it is an option that we can do for people if they reach out directly to us. We're on Facebook at American Vapor Manufacturers, and we're on Twitter at Vapor American. We couldn't get American Vapor. We had to go Vapor American. Whoever owns American Vapor, hit me up. I want to buy your Twitter handle.
Right. Everyone, please DM them right now. We would like their Twitter handle. Yes, that's awesome. So, the big question that I think on, everyone's mind, especially, shop owners, ZampleBox here, consumers is, when do you think that list from the FDA is going to come out that, shows us what legal products we can vape?
Yeah, they haven't gotten through their stuff yet. It's going to be a while.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was hearing as well. I mean, do we really not have any timeline? Is it, like roughly a year, maybe 3 years? I mean, it sounds like they got such, an immense amount of applications that I'm sure they're just buried over there.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot of manufacturers that submitted, my company included, we got an additional request after the fact to fill out this certain spreadsheet document they wanted to list all of the products in the specific format. And I believe, my guess is that's what they're using to compile the list, is those spreadsheets they're asking companies for. But it's hard to discern. There's no rhyme or reason to the order in which companies are getting those requests. It's not going in order of how they submitted, because I submitted very late. And I got one of those requests before a lot of other people did. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I don't know.
It doesn't sound like they might have like an order to all the madness yet over there.
No.
Not surprising.
I submitted very late too, but as soon as they opened it up and saw 332,000 SKUs, someone passed out.
Yeah.
So they're probably just still trying to recuperate from that. So
Someone
Get to
quit
hear
their
that.
job that day, right?
Somebody just said, I'm all done. Yeah.
Can I jump in with a real quick question? Has the FDA asked these companies at all for some help, or is it just nothing?
No.
Nothing at all. I was wondering about that the other day, hearing about the paper log and all this stuff, and I was wondering if they, by any chance, had reached out to some of the companies and said, "Hey, can you guys come and give us a hand with this? A little, maybe help explain some of this process." Yeah,
Well, we're just now starting to see that grouping page that they're requesting, and that means that they are finally figuring out what I told them 3 years ago. Data standardization is really important, guys, because there was no standardization of the data at all. So they're finally trying to get that standardized data in there, and then they're sending people another spreadsheet and asking to be put on the list. So yeah, so there's a second spreadsheet going around there somewhere. I don't know. So I don't even think they know at this point.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, but you bring up an interesting point, which is a good part of the rationale for taking what we've been doing informally and making it into an official, 501c4 trade organization, because Char is directly responsible for about 2 million of those submissions. And so getting all of those people under a proper trade org umbrella gives us the ability to walk into FDA and credibly state, you have this giant mess on your hands. We represent all of the companies that have created this giant mess. Let us work with you on a solution that works for everybody. Like, let's help you find a solution to all 2 million of these things, rather than you guys spending the next infinity of years, looking at all
trying to learn about vaping.
Right. And like, they're all submitted differently. They all have different pieces included. There's like no stand. And so we want to just come in and talk about the fact that, like, this problem exists. It's a problem for you. It's a problem for us. Let's come and talk. Let's meet at the table and figure out a solution, because, we got all of these people submitted. Let's help you figure out how to sort through them now.
Yeah. Well, you know how the government works. That you guys just guaranteed them jobs for the next 10 years. So
Well, I had a conversation. I actually had to TRLM is where you go and you recertify that, nothing's changed, right? And so I had a TLRM, and mind you, CTP, we call these guys, we ask them for help. They may be back, they may call you back weeks and weeks later, if they have anything useful to say at all. Well, I got a call back from TRLM like within hours. And I'm like, what? And so you'll love this, Maddie. He was actually helpful. He fixed the problem. He actually knew the data. And I'm like, you're a contractor, aren't you? And he goes, how did you know? And I'm like, you don't actually work for the government. So
Exactly.
they have actually I think they're starting to farm off a lot of this stuff. So you're going to start to see data standardization and all that stuff that, I've been screaming about for years. But they're farming it off. I can tell right away. I'm like, you're not actually in the government, are you? And sure enough, no, he was a contractor.
You're way too efficient.
Yeah, way too efficient.
Way too efficient to actually be part of that program.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I think, my final question for you guys, it sounds like you guys are really active in your own local kind of vape lobbying efforts outside of the AVM. But, what would you tell the average vapor to do? What do you think the average vapor can do to really get out there and kind of support vaping and help, fight and save vaping?
I think connect with the state group in your state. Just about every state has one. And those are the people that can, A, give you the best information as to what's going on, but B, they can tell you when the hearing is, how to sign up to testify, what to expect, what kind of talking points might work. Because it's actually, that when you go and you participate in hearings on any of these things, flavor bans, taxes, vaping bans, whatever they are. If you've never done it before, it's very intimidating because you have to go to this Capitol building, which the Capitols are always difficult to get to. You got to figure out where the committee hearing is taking place, which is
how to sign in for
of
the
itself.
committee.
Yeah, and then you have to sign up. Some places make you sign up the day before. Some you can show up and sign up the day of. And then with COVID, testimonies radically different. They're doing this on, Cisco and Microsoft Teams and Zoom and stuff. And so that's complicated. But state groups are an excellent source of information. Some state groups, accept small consumer membership. Some state groups don't, but all state groups welcome consumer participation. One really great thing that consumers can do with their state groups is writing letters to the editor of your local newspapers when these things are happening. The opposition, they always, find some high schooler and write their op-ed and ask to borrow their name to put on it, right? Yeah. And so for us, we've got to counteract that narrative. I always like, if you're an adult vapor and you don't fit the stereotype of what the media has presented of being like 16 years old, juuling in your school bathroom, people need to hear from you and they need to see you. And there's a lot of ways to do that, letters to the editor, emailing, outside of committees, beforehand, you can email your representatives that have a vote on these issues. You can call their office. And state groups are just a good hub for that kind of coordination because they'll have the most up-to-date information of what's happening and they'll be able to direct you on where to go. So, if you are in a state and you don't know how to get in touch with your state group, I'm pretty plugged in with most of the people running the state group. So, you can send us an email through our contact page on our website, like, hey, I live in Georgia. Who do I talk to about my state group? Or, whatever. And we'll put you in touch. That's fairly easy to do because I guarantee you any of these state groups will welcome your participation and they will be very glad to have it.
100%, definitely. Yeah. And I mean, really getting in touch with your local legislators, I think is huge, really getting out there and, reminding them that they're working for you and that, they're supposed to be representing your voice is really huge. So appreciate you guys with all your feedback there for our viewers. I think that'll be really helpful for a lot of people to get involved with their state groups and get in contact with their legislators.
Yeah. That's Safada, Texas. We love hearing. Just letting you know, it's coming up in January. Yeah. Give me a ring, Safada, Texas.
Well, it's a good way to learn how the system works, and if you could start at your local level, because those guys are going to be much easier to get in contact with your city councilmen, your mayors. You learn how that system works. You learn how to register and learn when they're available and just getting that sit down time with your local representative, it kind of breaks that ice because those guys are there for you. I mean, they're most of them don't get paid. So
one of the things in Texas is you don't even have to testify. You can give a written statement. Yeah. You can just register your opinion as opposed. They have these little kiosks, and you can just say, "Hey, I'm opposed to this," and they take that into great consideration because you took the time, came all the way down, and registered your opinion on something. It wasn't an email. It wasn't a call. Yeah. It was you took time off and came in and sat down and said, hey, here's my. So written statements are great. Just registering your opinion is awesome.
Yeah. Well, we had a question here. I don't know who wants to answer this one, but I saw it and I figured we'd go ahead and answer it. Keep in mind, we're not doctors. None of us on this panel is a doctor.
I can't get pregnant though.
As a business owner, I am legally prohibited from answering this question.
I'm going to answer that question
at all.
Yeah,
sorry.
I thought that too when I saw it. After I started thinking, wait a minute, you guys are both own companies, and ZampleBox cannot answer that question.
I'm going to answer it. I'm the one that has actually a healthcare background, so
you're not a doctor.
I was going to say
no doctor.
I used to be called dictator when I was in Iraq, and that means doctor. I think I actually did a better job than most of the doctors that were over there. But I digress. So the best way to answer this question is obviously you should ask your doctor. But if you're early enough along in pregnancy and you kind of want to weigh the decisions, because let's face it, there's controversy even with drinking and pregnancy. Some say you can have a glass of wine per month. Some say there's not. So you're going to kind of get misinformation even too from the medical community. But what I can say from the research is that even if you're, let's say, a traditional smoker, that up to 12 weeks of pregnancy, technically the placenta isn't formed. So there's nothing being transferred across the placenta. So if you actually quit smoking by 12 weeks, your baby has no effects at all as if you never smoked. So that's something to keep in mind. If you're early on, you might maybe want to cut yourself down. And it's because the nicotine does transfer through the placenta. Now, there's been no research and no studies on the exact placenta carry of no nicotine in vaping liquids to see if there's any harm on the baby. Yeah. So it's kind of a question of how you want to take the risk. You could decide to completely wean yourself off of nicotine, which you should do anyway if you are pregnant, because nicotine can also increase your risk of having high blood pressure, developing preeclampsia, and many other complications that go along with it. And try to do it maybe by 12 weeks. Don't shock your system because you don't want to cause any miscarriages or any discomforts. But there's also that option of the 0 milligrams of vaping, but it's not been proven if it's going to cause any issues or not. So it's kind of not enough research out there for it.
Yeah.
Well, the best thing to say here is
you're not a doctor as well. You could say that
right
for me.
Right. We're all not doctors here, but the best word of advice is to not be doing it while you're pregnant. Second of all, if somehow you end up doing it, then that's what Maddie said. So
and it's what Maddie said.
Also, you can
generally on any related questions to vaping and health. I mean,
yeah,
you can check out the American perspective on it, but I would encourage anybody to also check out Public Health England. They put out a lot of guidance on this kind of stuff.
Yeah. And let's see, did I have any other? I wanted to check to make sure if any of our viewers had any questions for you. While I'm doing that, Anthony can answer that question.
What is ZampleBox? Cody, I did reply to Cody in the chat already, but if you're not familiar with ZampleBox, we are the original e-liquid delivery service. Basically, you tell us what flavors you like. We build a box of flavors that we curate from all around the world, hopefully Amanda and Char soon, and then we put them in a box and send it straight to your doorstep each month for a great deal. And if you use ZB Live right now, you'll get 15% off.
That's right. I got that up there. I got to put that up there. That's funny.
And just so people watching the show understand, that's how all the hosts on the show, we all met. Basically, because of ZampleBox, we all have the service, and we've been in the group for. I've been with ZampleBox almost 4 years now. I think something in that neck of the woods, and in the group a couple years anyway.
And if you stick around,
you'll
get an live unboxing.
I got a quick question for you guys. You guys talked about a future lab coming someday. Do you guys kind of have an idea of? I'm sure it's not going to be in California, but can it be like right on the border? Can it be right on the border? You piss them off and go right down the middle. Half of the building is in California, the other half's in Arizona, something like that.
Well, it'll be very close. We're going to locate it down in Phoenix. The scientists who have designed the laboratory are based in southern Arizona. We worked with a team of scientists from one of the universities here that has very, very thorough experience with analytical testing, even doing some kind of work with government projects in pharma and aerospace, and are familiar with the level of scientific rigor that the government requires. And so we had the lab designed to a very high standard. You know, we didn't want to just buy some used testing equipment on eBay with kind of a minimal
eBay.
person running it that doesn't have any experience. Like we went very professional, high end on how we're preparing.
Yeah.
But we're gonna locate it down in Phoenix because we're gonna utilize those scientists to staff and manage the lab.
Hey, I'm just saying that's real close to the ZampleBox.
That is. I was just going to say, right by the ZampleBox warehouse. Oh, I was not quick enough for the shameless plug there. I'm sorry.
Hey, shameless plug. If ZampleBox is located down in Arizona, you know, Arizona Smoke Free is always happy to have more partners.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, that'd be great.
There you go.
Arizona Smoke Free has a stellar record of defending vapor in Arizona. Stellar.
Well, Arizona's been out of the news. They've been staying out of the news, so they're one of the few states that's kind of stayed out of the news, and for me, that's a good thing. Not that I'm going to move there, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we have stuff come up in Arizona, but we were one of the earliest state groups to form. We started to form in the 2013, 2014, and you know, hiring lobbyists and having a presence, you know, very early on in the process. And, you know, it's great because we have good relationships with our lawmakers. They know who we are. They know what we're about. And, you know, we have people here, they get ideas. They want to ban flavors. They want to do taxes. They want to do silly things. But, you know, so far we've been very effective at keeping this state safe for vape. And it's what we're going to keep on doing. It's going to get a little bit harder. Our state legislature is predicted to flip blue this year, so that is going to be a challenge. And this isn't even a political opinion that I'm expressing about, you know, a party preference. It's just when you look at vape, Democrat states are much tougher on vaping regulations, and so that will be a challenge for Arizona Smoke Free when our legislature, if it's strongly predicted, it's going to happen. It'll get the fight will get tougher, but I think you know, we have a lot of credibility here, even on the other side of the aisle, relationships that we built. So I think we'll continue to defend the state pretty well, I think.
Yeah, I think that article Tim read earlier today was about most of those states that were had the high ratings were pretty much states that were down the middle. I think it said that in the article as well. Yeah, we're kind of 50-50 Democrats, Republicans.
Yeah, I don't think you can lay your finger on any one particular party, but in general terms, the red states tend to be a little bit more lenient.
Well, in Texas, we have the advantage of we don't like a nanny state.
Yeah.
So, you know, so to advocate here in Texas, all I've got to go is, hey, that's a right. I'm an adult. Don't let them take it. And every one of our reps, you know, especially Texas Freedom League, which I'm heavily involved in, they all go, you got it, and they kill whatever bill I tell them is going to take our rights away. Mm-hmm. Which I'm heavily involved in Texas Freedom League too. So
it's interesting because the Republicans that like us, they like us because of this concept of freedom and people's rights and being, you know, the kind of party of the economy and business and all of that. We actually have been able to make really good inroads with some Democrats. You know, when we talk more about the harm reduction aspects of it, you know, they want to see more science on it. They want to see, you know, more controls, more regulation. But generally, when you talk about this idea of harm reduction, that's something that the Democratic Party has precedence for and something they've really promoted in other areas. And so it's a matter of we have a lot of educating to do on that side of the aisle to show them why, you know, this product is similar to other harm reduction methods that they've promoted in other areas.
And I know I see, you know, up here in Washington, we've had a couple of, you know, we're pretty obviously a heavy Democratic state. We've had pretty good success, fighting most of the vape bans until last year, I think was the first one that threw on us finally. But yeah, we've even seen in this last year or two, we've had a couple of Democratic representatives and senators whose, family members started vaping and they quit smoking with these products. And now they're batting in our corner, up there when the rest of these are anti-vaping here in Washington. And they're standing up, say, hey, I have a family member that quit smoking with this product. They've been successful. I've seen the changes personally in my family member, and it's been hugely impactful to like finally come around. And really just kind of personalizes the vape industry and makes it more real, not so much as like we're big tobacco trying to get addicted.
Yeah. Hilariously, we had a voters drive in my shop, and the Senate candidate that was in my district came to the voters drive for a couple of hours. And as he was in my shop, literally his, all his church congregation members were coming in. The police force that he knew was coming in. His neighbors were coming in. And he looks at me and he's like, do you know everyone I know? And I'm like, well, they don't smoke now, do they? Yeah. So yeah, we've got his support.
It's interesting because with these politicians, like they have friends and family, and vaping is very popular now. It's to the point now where you'd be hard pressed to find somebody that doesn't know at least one person that vapes, right? Even if you're far removed from our kind of circles of advocacy and the business circles. Most people know somebody that vapes and a lot of the politicians I talk to, I just had this conversation with the United States congressman yesterday who had been very supportive of us and had written a letter to FDA on behalf of small businesses. And I got to talk to him in person yesterday and thank him for taking those actions. And he goes, oh, well, yeah, I had to. My entire staff vapes. They would disown me if I didn't help you. And so that's what it is. Like, I'm glad that it's pervasive at this point.
Yeah. I think with all that,
can I add one?
Yeah,
point?
Go ahead, Tim.
I was going to say, I think what's coming out of this, though, is it's keen to note that you're trying to kind of pull out a person's individual belief about it, whereas you're also dealing with like sort of the legs of government and what they kind of have to play by. You know what I mean? I think that's a tough position to be in because there's that money aspect to it and the lobbyists and their agendas, whereas you do have people that are, they may not be starkly against it, but unfortunately they have to kind of go party line or at least follow some unwritten rules.
Yeah, I mean, politicians answer to a lot of masters, they answer to their voters, and so we've spent a lot of time messaging on, people who vape are generally pretty passionate about it. It's not like a lot of gun enthusiasts, they base their whole vote around that single issue. There are a lot of people that when they feel passionately about something, their vote is determined by literally one single issue. And so we spent a lot of time, talking about this message of, the vape vote, right? And, doing polling on that, showing how people are so motivated by that issue, showing, hey, especially in an election year, Florida was determined by this very small number of votes. Yep. There are 1 million vapers in Florida. Whichever political party can get that constituency on their team, whatever candidate can get that constituency on their team, potentially has a lot of votes larger than the win margin, know? And so we do messaging around that. Politicians also answer to their donors, right? So, vapor is a young industry, but I think we're getting more savvy about donating financially to candidates who have supported our causes, and making sure they have funding that they need to win their re-elections and stuff. Politicians also answer to public opinion. That just the general notion of vape in the media hasn't been the greatest, and that's a big problem that I think our industry has yet to find an effective solution to. That's one area where, while we are getting more politically savvy, I think we still struggle a lot in the media, and that's one area for growth we could really do a lot of work on. And I think, consumer involvement in that, it's hard because you don't get a lot of opportunities for media involvement, but news will often cover this when things are up for debate, and then they go out and find people to talk to, writing those letters to the editor, that sort of thing. But really, as an industry, I don't think we've ever launched an effective like public relations sort of campaign with the media. That's something that we still need to do some work on.
Yeah. Is there anything you guys want to add? But I know you guys both have to run, or if you guys still have some more time to stay, or is there anything you guys want to add before you go? I want to make sure you get some of your stuff out.
Plug your
here, and I'll do this for you. As you're plugging your juice line, I will give you one of these. I'll give you the big one. Boom.
Well, the plug for my company is called Vapes. We've been around since 2011. We are at jvapes.com, just JVAPES.com.
Yeah, away.
Yeah. For any retailers out there, we are wholesale jvapes.com. So we have a retail site and a wholesale site. That's kind of, I don't like to plug my stuff.
No, we're playing around with you.
And my line is called
plug.
We want to add some. I have to add some comedy to it. I gotta make you smile. So.
My line is called Unchained, but you basically have to know somebody to get it because we don't do. Yeah, we really.
His eyes. You just lit him up. His brain. He's already doing promotions in his mind. That's how it's just going.
Hey, I know Char. She just said I had to know someone. I figure I know the one. Come on.
You know the one. That's it.
I think we've allowed like all of 2 people to carry our juice line so far. So yeah, we're pretty much you got to know me to get it. Yeah.
We have a shop here like that. I was just wondering to go in. I was going to go in there and see how they were doing because I haven't been in there for a while. Switched to Vapor, and they make all in-house juices, and I haven't been in there to see how things were going with them. So I know with the changes in California, that's going to be a killer for them. So I don't see them sticking around too much. Kind of sad because they were the first vape shop in Modesto. Before that, I had to go to the mall and buy my juice from a kiosk.
Yeah, and that's why what we're doing is so extremely important to keep as many manufacturers in the game as we can to give people options. And I know I'm going to have to step up my wholesale. I'm aware because there's just not a lot of options out there anymore. I can't afford to not spread the love because there's just not that many options anymore. I mean, they're going away. We're seeing daily people sending out emails saying, sorry guys, we're all done. Yeah. So we're trying real hard to keep it from happening.
Yeah, and we're happy that you guys are there, and I think it's a great.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I do. I was reading your website, and I was just like, "This is awesome. Why hasn't nobody else done this?" I was like, "This makes absolute sense," because I could not imagine the paper. I mean, we've all filled out paperwork, and just buying a house is a pain in the ass. But I could just imagine the paperwork that you have to go through for this process, and it's just the beginning. It's just
if you've ever had to do an environmental assessment on every SKU, you have not lived.
Yeah.
Well, I think James Javis said his PMTA was like 6 million pages. What he turned in. I didn't count how many pages ours was, but it caught my attention because James Javis kept a count of his pages. And that I'm just like, man, 6.6 million pieces of paper to sell something we've been selling for a decade. That's absurd.
Thank God for flash drive. Thank God for flash drive, right?
That's a lot of floppy disks.
Well, I mean, the thing is like, think about, ZampleBox, what you would have to offer if all of your guys went away on September the 10th.
Yeah. I mean, ZampleBox would not be here if we only could offer 5 brands, 10 brands
Right.
even. I mean, ZampleBox relies on having, you know, a assortment of many brands, and it's getting harder and harder every year. So you guys out here and fighting, you know, for the PMTA to keep these businesses and our business around is huge.
Yeah, well, we're happy to do it because, you know, this industry is unique because especially people that have been involved in the industry a long time, because everybody I know, especially people that were in the market before like 2015, 2016, they're all former smokers and they started out as consumers. They didn't start with this goal of just, you know, dollar signs flashing in their eyes. Like my husband and I, for example, when we started our business, we started it with next to no money. I mean, this was like 2011. My husband was like selling vape juice at the swap meet because there was nowhere you could go to buy products. And there were all these people smoking and nobody had access to like that solution. And so, you know, he just started out like he had 2 other jobs. He was working a tremendous amount of hours a week. He just started selling vape stuff at the swap meet, and it went so well. Like, you know, we opened this little 400 square foot store, tiny, and man, we would have lines out the door. So then we got a bigger store, and then we opened a second store, and then somebody on Instagram like made this like post about our juice that like went viral, and then we were like wholesaling to like hundreds of stores all over the country, and it was crazy. But it started out as like my husband went into the smoke shop to buy his 2 cartons of cigarettes he buys every week. He saw the lady working in there. She had like this giant vape device, and he was like, "What's that?" And she told him where to go on the internet to buy it, and he did. And he's like, "This is great." And keep in mind, like the quality at the time, like wasn't quality now, but it was still good enough that it got people off cigarettes, right? And you know, and thank God that it did, because then like he convinced me to stop smoking, you know, and then, you know, through our business, like, you know, we've gotten thousands and thousands of people in our local community off cigarettes, and a lot of those people, you know, don't even vape anymore. They've gotten all the way off nicotine altogether by stepping down nicotine or whatever. But I mean, there are thousands of people that used to smoke that don't smoke anymore because it was started as an effort of a consumer, not to like build a giant business. It was just like, hey, this is like really helpful. And I think this would be something that people would respond to and utilize, and they have. And, you know, that's the story from like all of my friends in the industry. Like everybody that is in the industry in an official capacity started off as a consumer that had just like heart and love for spreading the technology. And that's what broke my heart and Char's heart about like watching all of these people just let this happen. And you know, we worked too hard. Like we spent a decade building an industry that's helped millions of people, you know, and now it's happening like all over the world in so many countries. And it's just like something that's been just a force for good. Yeah. And we're going to stand back and let the government like give all of that to big tobacco and convenience stores, because I mean, you know, those products have helped a lot of people stop smoking. I'm not going to knock them, but a lot of people that start on those products, they end up on our products because, you know,
or using our community, you know, going to the vape shop to learn how to use it. I mean,
because a convenience store guy's not going to tell you anything. He's just going to say, yeah, it's $15.99. That's it.
Yeah,
exactly. Like when you come into a vape shop, you get an education and you get the kind of setup that's going to suit you. And, you know, you get that personal connection with somebody that's passionate about what you're passionate about. And it matters. It matters. And I don't think that this should be something that's only available in these closed systems convenience store products. People should have a range of options.
Yeah, I was able to do my numbers in the PMTA process. We had a literature review that we plugged in our own numbers, and my shop completely crushed the national average for people who never went back to smoking and stopped almost immediately. I mean, crushed it. So it's that hand holding in my shop that gets you, you know, and honestly, we sound like AA in there. You know, everybody comes in, says how long they've, you know, and everybody cheers. It's It's
No, you're not getting that. What you get, I mean, for me, my success was that vape shop. Going in there because I didn't know about ZampleBox for a while, and walking into that shop before the law was changed. I was able to go in there, order my juice, and get a description of what kind of device I needed, what kind of tank I needed, or what kind of build I needed to have for the type of vape I was. And I wouldn't have gotten that walking into AMPM or some convenience store. The guy was, he's just he doesn't care if it works or it doesn't work for you. That's it.
no, you're going to buy cigarettes or you're going to buy vape. He doesn't care.
That's exactly right. You're either going to buy that again tomorrow or you're coming back in for a pack of smokes. And
that support system that the vape shop provides, it's just so essential. And I think that really shows how essential it is to smokers being successful in quitting smoking. Is you can't just decide one day that you want to quit smoking. I mean, there's a few people out there who can, but the majority of us, need that support, need that person to help you when you come in and you say, oh, I burnt my coil, or my tank leaked out all over me. I'm about to buy a pack of cigarettes. And, they need that person to walk the bridge and say, oh, it's okay. Let me get your coil fixed up. Let's get you some new juice and everything's going to be all right.
Especially older people.
Have flavors. Can you imagine if we didn't have flavors? I mean, you would have took away that whole conversation that every vapor has with each other. Oh, you got to taste this. This watermelon's better than this watermelon. No, you would have took all that away. It's just, hey, you want to taste this tobacco? This tobacco's really good. Yeah, it's not happening. It's not happening. All right. Is there anything you guys want to add, or you guys want to stick around for the rest of our segments? It's up to you guys, or add some stuff.
I gotta go put my little guys to bed.
Little ones, yeah, you got little ones. Anything else you guys want to add before you go? Or I got the website. I think I have the website right. It's right there.
I put it in the YouTube for us.
You put it in the YouTube as well, and we'll have links to their website, their Twitter account, and if you get me that podcast link, if you guys don't have that yet, let me know, and we'll also post that on here as well after the show is done. I want to thank both of you guys for taking the time for being here. It is awesome hearing about you through Brian. I mean, if Brian hadn't brought you guys up, I don't think I would have seen you guys. I mean, I watched a lot of the stuff that's on there, but pretty much I kind of focused on CASA a lot here lately, because especially with what's going on in California. So it's kind of hard to focus on other advocacy groups. And but I appreciate you guys coming in, and I'm going to have my guys say goodbye to you guys. Tom, a man of few words.
Oh, you wanted me to talk? Sorry. It's been a long day. Thank you both for coming. And yes, Texas is amazing. I used to live there. I miss it. I may move back. I don't know.
Yeah.
With that said, y'all have a good night.
They don't want you in Texas. Once you've been
come on over. We're all good.
Madison, she's got to unmute herself too.
Good night. Girl power. Roar. IT's the best.
IT's the best.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Tim.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say thank you to Char and Amanda for being on here and all the fantastic work you're doing in the background, because if it wasn't for unsung heroes like you, we'd be out on the street, on the curb.
You vaping tobacco. Just tobacco.
Right.
And Brian.
Keeping us in the game.
And I want to thank Brian for bringing this organization up. I appreciate that, Brian. They needed to get their word out. And I know Phil did a video with you guys, and I figured have you guys come on and share.
I was hoping to get them on first before them, but darn it.
Phil's pushy. Phil's pushy. I had to ask you. No, I appreciate it. And I hope that our ZampleBox viewers get a better understanding what AVM is doing for the industry, man. It's a lot, guys. It is a lot.
Yeah, we want to make sure you got variety in your box every time it comes.
That's right. And Anthony.
Yes, guys, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. I'm sure all of our members greatly appreciate all the information that you guys had to share with us. And if there's any manufacturers out there, be sure to get in touch with them. AVM, theavm.org. And keep eye on your email. I'll be in touch soon. I want to, check out maybe some of the stuff. Sweet Talk Char to get hers in there, but
the little hamsters just running around here. Unfortunately, the hamster's running around, but Tom has the cheese. So that's how it works.
Wisconsin, baby.
Well, thank you guys for letting us have
Yeah,
some time on your show to come on, and we really want everybody to be aware that this is a resource and one that's fairly affordable when you compare it to other PMTA things. We're trying to just do this as a service to the industry, and we don't want anybody to miss out on the opportunity because they didn't hear about it. So thank you for letting us use your platform to sort of spread the message. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Golf clap.
Snaps.
Oh, what's a snap? Snaps. You got to do the head roll. There she is. All right.
It's a labor of love, and
Char, you're a few words, Char. So I'm gonna let you talk. You're like Tom. You don't say much, but you're right. I'm teasing.
It's really a labor of love. I mean, we, my husband and I, our big thing was when we started our shop is if we made $50, hey, made rent, and that was really all we cared about. But there are so many. I lost my dad from smoking, and that shouldn't happen to any other little girl now that there is this here, and we have to do this for your users, your vapors. We got to keep them vaping, and we got to keep that variety there. So it's really a labor of love.
Yeah, and we thank you guys for that. It's awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right.
Good night.
Yeah, I can have a good night, and thank you again, ladies. It was awesome having you on here, and you guys are welcome back anytime. Just let me know.
Maybe when the juice lines come in.
Yeah,
I'll come back and plug the juice lines.
Juice lines. That's it. Thank you again, ladies.
Thanks, guys.
We are going to jump into Madison here, and Madison is going to do a CBD. What is your topic tonight? A CBD education with Madison, and I am going to give you your bumper. And it is all yours, Madison. Do you need me to go full screen? Was that going to help with the PowerPoint? We didn't test that yet this week, so what do you want to do? Go like this and go PowerPoint? Let me know. Just share the screen and we'll go that route.
Yeah, but when I share, my audio goes crazy.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. We don't have to really share anything.
She's got pregnant brain.
I'm tired. I can't remember what I was going to do tonight.
Your presentation. You have your presentation. You want me to put that up there, or?
Oh yeah. So I'm basically just going to do this as a docu-mini series, because I really don't know people's level of education on cannabis. So they're going to be small topics every single week. You can do some reading prior to it. Come on the show, ask questions. I'll answer them. Kind of my background with cannabis is I'm more medical marijuana. I'm an advocate for that more than anything else. So I've been involved with that kind of advocacy for, I don't know, more about 10 or 12 years, but been very adamant with research in medical marijuana since I was a teenager. So CBD just kind of goes along with that because it's used for a lot of medicinal reasons. So it's kind of just my background with this. And then I also have a background in healthcare. I do not work healthcare anymore, but I used to work in the healthcare industry. Okay, so tonight's topic, we're just going to go really basic, which is what is CBD. So I don't know if you want to share the presentation.
Yeah, do it from your side, John.
Do it from my side?
Yeah.
Maddie?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me. I was not prepared for that, but yeah,
I can share it. That's fine. I have it.
Yeah. You go ahead and share it, huh?
Okay, so this cool little drawing is actually CBD and its chemical form. So what is CBD? So here's some just quick highlights of what is CBD. There's a lot of things that makes up CBD, but we're just going to go in a very big, broad overview. So CBD comes from the hemp plant versus the marijuana plant. So that's a big distinction between the two. CBD also stands for cannabidiol, and it is the cousin of the Delta-9. It's too late at night to pronounce it, but THC.
Tetrahydrocannabinol.
Yeah, there you go. Which you could tell they're cousins. They're both cousin plants. They're both hemp plants, but one is an actual hemp plant and one is a marijuana plant. So one's more CBD, low THC. One's more high THC, low CBD. CBD compared to THC, it is a non-psychoactive, but it does have a calming effect. So lots of questions people ask all the time is what does CBD do to my body? Well, it's not going to make you high. So you're not going to get this crazy psychedelic property that you think when you smoke a joint. You're more or less going to feel calm or relaxed, and it's going to be more of that subtleness right there. CBD is now legal in all 50 states as long as it has 0.3% THC or lower. This was passed through a farmer's bill that was signed, I think, in 2018 by Donald Trump. And it is considered to be an industrial grade version. There's so far only one company that's been approved, FDA approved for medical reasons for CBD, but everything else is not. I highly recommend, because they are not approved by the FDA, that you start looking at QA testing to verify the quality of the product and to make sure you're either staying underneath that 0.3% THC, or if it's labeled no THC, that it actually has no THC. Beyond that, CBD is a great tool. It helps with many things. It has a lot of great medical benefits to it. So over the course of time, we'll kind of go look at all these different benefits that are there. So for next week, the topic is going to be the types of CBD that are out there. Yes, there's more than one type. And then we're also going to talk about the forms that you can use it. So ways of consumption and things like that. So does anybody have any questions?
I got a question for you about that farmer's bill that went through. I wanted to ask you a quick question, because now that's gone through. We're going to start seeing a lot of that CBD products being floated around into different stores and stuff like that. Right? Correct. It's going to be a supplement now. Correct? Because
no. So the farmer's bill just basically made it that if you grew hemp plants, you couldn't be arrested. So basically the USDA is now actually going to be doing the testing at these farms.
And they're allowing more people to grow hemp now, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's not so much they're allowing to grow. You still have to go through the process of the USDA. So, but now, unfortunately, with COVID, that's gotten pushed off now. So they were going to be doing it this year with the testing, but COVID kind of, COVID. And so they're talking about next year, but who knows, COVID, right? So basically what they're doing is they're just going to be testing the plants to make sure that they're the actual hemp plant and not the cousin marijuana plant. And what it also did is what you might see more now on the market is USDA certified organic. So you might start seeing labels that say organic CBD because of that, now these companies can go through and apply to be considered certified organic because it's underneath the USDA control. So technically CBD products that you're buying here in America and that are grown here in America are being federally regulated to a certain extent, but it's being done by the USDA versus the FDA likes to have their hand in everybody's cookie jar. And it's just like, well, if it goes in your body, we should be able to look at it too. So it is being regulated to a certain portion, only the plant and the farm. The actual end product is not being regulated by the FDA.
Okay. I was just wondering how, because we talked about that before. All right. Any other questions for Madison?
Yeah. So, what was the percentage? Like, what actually differentiates, traditional marijuana versus hemp? Is it just that 0.3% THC content? Is like that the only thing that makes, makes hemp not marijuana?
So you kind of have to understand how CBD and THC interact with each other. So the marijuana plant was specifically grown for that psychedelic property, right? That strain is just grown like crazy. And what's particular about that strain and why they only grow that, or why they distinguish it as a marijuana plant, is it has very low CBD but tons of THC in it, because THC and CBD combat each other. So if you actually are high and take a crap ton of CBD with it, you can actually take away that high. Because it hits different receptors of the brain too. So they don't actually grow very well with each other. So the hemp plant that you get hemp parts from, hemp lotions, everything is what's called industrial grade hemp, which through all the testings has always been lower than 0.3%. So that's where they set that threshold. But that's because that particular strain of plant, that hemp plant, has high amounts of CBD. Yeah, right. It's just high amounts of, but you're always going to have THC in there because they are cousin plants and stuff. So one's just more and the other one is another. So, like if you're growing hemp in your backyard, you would have to be able to distinguish, is it a hemp plant or is it an actual marijuana plant? And those are the only two ways they'd be able to tell, is by how much CBD or THC was in that plant.
And so, and next week we're going to talk about like kind of what the difference between like isolate versus like full spectrum and like how that works.
Yeah, the isolate one is going to be a little bit harder because there's too many isolates out there.
Yeah, ton.
But we can go over that over a course of time. But yeah, it'll be more like broad spectrum versus full spectrum, isolates, terpenes, and then of course the different forms, inhalation, consumption, those types of things. Yeah, and then there'll be more to kind of just compound on top of it, because as we start getting into the lab testings, you'll start seeing those strains more, and I can break them down in those strains of the lab testing.
You are amazing. You're amazing. All right. We've got our very first ZampleBox live unboxing, and doing the honors tonight, all the way from Wisconsin, the cheese capital of the world, Tom Harding. Hey, Tom, I'm going to go full screen for this because it'll show up.
We want to see the box, okay?
What's in your box, Tom? What is in that box?
I'd rather look at that than my ugly mug anyway, so.
And there he is, Mr. Wisconsin.
God, that's horrible. Hey, look at that. It's my desk.
And there's that famous cloth. Anthony,
yeah, it's an old one.
Quick question, Anthony. Is that still available for newer members?
Last I checked, they were still going out in boxes. I just got one in my most recent box. Did you guys get one in yours? Well, actually, we'll see. If Tom has one in his box, they're still going out. I believe they are.
I got 2 in a row.
2 in a row. Me too.
Okay. I get the 12 bottle box. It comes in this lovely priority mail envelope. It runs $53.99. Free shipping. Yeah, take that out. I'll throw that away. I don't need it. Then you have the box. You open it up.
This is a hand model.
Woo.
Yeah, okay.
Those are working.
What is in my... There we go. All right.
Those are working man hands.
You got your tasting menu. A couple of stickers.
Let's see them new stick. I got the love stickers there.
Rating card. Very underutilized.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, you guys should start using those more. And
Yes.
on Instagram and on Facebook, you guys tag ZampleBox in those. And those are great. It gives everybody a good idea of what's out there and what you enjoy.
Yeah,
It helps ZampleBox as well, right, Anthony? When they see those those 1, 2, 3s, they can kind of judge.
Yeah, that's huge, and it's not only big for us, but the actual juice companies love to see that. So when you guys tag us, tag them. Let them know that like they were your number one in your box. They'd love to hear that stuff.
All right, now
show me the juice.
Show me the
Calm
juice.
down. Get in there. I will keep that out for reference. Hey, I got that limited Wisconsin edition.
Pizza cheese.
That's awesome.
Note to everyone: only Wisconsin boxes get cheeses.
Oh yeah, perfect. Washington, the state of Washington, is competing against Wisconsin for cheese, so you will get some Wisconsin.
All right.
You're lucky
And-
it's cold out there, so that cheese actually didn't melt. Just saying.
Right?
Yeah, that
Well,
would not
it's
go well in Arizona box.
Yeah.
No.
Oh,
That'd be a
God.
mess. Okay. There was a slight mix-up, but it's no big deal. My first bottle is supposed to be Audrey from Bombshell Premium. I have Lucille instead, which is a pineapple and coconut.
Mm.
So it should be just as good. Then I have a Berry Aid, which is a strawberry lemonade. 1-Up's churro and strawberry ice cream. I've had this one before. It's very delicious.
Very delicious.
Honeyberry, which is honeydew and a berry smoothie. Melon Head, melon, orange, and vanilla ice cream. A lovely strawberry mochi ice cream. I have no idea. I've never had it. I might try it today. I don't know.
The mochi is the one on the end.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's right here.
Yeah. If you haven't tried the mochi, it is so good. I just got that in my last box, and I'm almost gone.
Okay. Well, I do have a nice, fresh, cleaned
he's got
RDA sitting there waiting to try one.
Do you know what mochi is?
No.
Okay, so mochi is like a rice dough from Japan, and they use it for other things, but over here it's gotten really popular because what they do is they take ice cream and then they wrap this dough around it, and so it's like a really thin. It's almost like fondant, kind of like that outside fancy stuff for cakes.
Oh, okay.
But it's kind of like having an ice cream sundae or an ice cream ball, and you just hold the dough and bite into it, and it's got ice cream on the inside, and it's really good.
Oh,
That sounds kind of interesting.
Yeah, actually, if you guys have a local Costco near you, I believe they still have mochi stuff. They're really good.
Don't they have like a Mexican dessert that's a fried dough with ice cream in the middle, something like that? Anthony, is that what you're talking about? Similar?
No, this is a Asian dough.
Okay.
So it's like a rice dough. So
Rice
the dough,
dough.
it's like a slightly sweet rice dough with ice cream.
Oh.
And yeah, it's really good. I mean, it's kind of similar to like maybe like a Mexican dessert like that. But the rice dough really sets it off. It's really like a unique texture and really interesting flavor.
What's the permanent flavor on that? Is it the rice that you taste, the rice dough?
So for the mochi vape flavors, they come, I believe it's strawberry, mango, and there's one or two other ones I can't remember off the top of my head. Did you get strawberry or mango?
Strawberry.
So that one is going to be like a strawberry ice cream, and then it'll have like that nice creamy rice dough kind of taste over the top of it.
Nice. I think that's going to be the one I'm going to try then.
I think you should try that one, Tom. Not the cheese.
I already opened the cheese.
Uh,
That's a snack. I will set the mochi right there. All right. Then I have on my second row, because with 12 bottles, there's 2 rows.
2 rows, baby.
Yes. Banana cream right here,
That
which is banana pudding.
That's delicious.
Yeah. Blues, which is an apple crumble pie. We have Fruity Rings, which is a fruity cereal.
That's what I'm vaping right now.
I'm guessing it's probably Fruit Loops. They just can't say that. Hustle, which is a raspberry lemonade. Cinnamon apple pie, skyscraper. That should be really tasty with it being fall up here in the North Woods.
That is real good.
And then tropical twist, mango, orange, and pineapple.
That tropical twist is also really
That's
good.
really good. I got that too.
You can just ship that one. To me,
Yeah,
Tom.
that one is also very tasty.
Yeah, send that one to Georgia.
Now I'll put these back. Get this out of my way.
I like that vape cloth, man.
Hey, me too. No, I did not get another one.
Oh, hey.
Oh yeah, you didn't get another one.
Yeah, I
Dang
can
it.
get another one.
'Cause
But since Anthony's here, real quick, Anthony, when will we ever see a ZampleBox vape mat?
A ZampleBox vape mat, like an
Yeah.
actual like the computer mat
Like
style.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I don't see why not. I mean,
Yeah.
I think we actually we have the t-shirts and swag stuff available. Actually, if you guys are watching on YouTube right now, down below us, there's actually probably links to our Teespring site, which has like sweet ZampleBox swag, t-shirts. We actually got leggings and stuff now. It's really cool. But I
And
think
socks.
the socks are super sweet. I think I could actually make up some mats. I'll have to check that out. But yeah, that's a great idea.
Mats would look awesome.
Yeah, I don't know why they haven't. I don't know why they haven't ever done.
It's a brilliant
those.
idea.
I think we've been pushing for those for I'm going to say at least 4 to 5 years.
Well, you got me now, John.
I got you. We got you.
I'm here to get it done. Okay.
Yeah, I think it'd be awesome. Just that big ZB logo right there, bam, on your desk.
I kind of like the Hexome logo there, but yeah. All right, it's the RDA for vaping on the top side light.
You're going to go up top with your video, right?
And
No, you don't.
what are you vaping again right now?
He is vaping
the mochi.
The mochi.
Strawberry mochi vape.
Strawberry mochi, which is a rice.
It's a rice dough with strawberry ice cream on the inside.
And I'm curious to see Tom's reactions, his face. We're going to look at his face. Look at his face.
We really don't have to look at my face.
When he inhales. Turn on the beauty light. You need it. There you go.
Can you change it to the tan setting though?
You look
no.
crazy.
There you go. Yeah.
You look too.
Now your cheeks are rosy.
Yeah, you look too Wisconsin. So you give yourself a California tan there.
It's been snowy and cold lately. All right, here we go. 70 watts.
70. Going right at it.
How many ohms?
0.17.
Ooh. Man after my own heart.
Oh, that's tasty.
Now, you've had that juice, Anthony. Do you e-liquid? I'm sorry. Do you think it would vape better at certain temperatures, or is it one of those juices that just tastes really good?
You know, I always like dessert flavors a little bit warmer than I like my fruit flavors. But about, it's kind of personal preference. 70 watts I think is like a fairly warm vape for me. Like normally 70 to 80 watts is like the warmer end if I'm running kind of higher wattage stuff these days. I mean, I used to be back in like the 120 mech mod, 150 mech mod days, but I've really kind of learned to love flavor. For this flavor, like I said, I generally like desserts a little bit higher, but since this one has some fruit, I think 70 watts is a pretty good sweet spot there. But it does pair like really well with any kind of like creamy stuff that you're eating on the side. Like it's a good like breakfast kind of match.
How's that going with that piece of cheese, Tom? How's that working out?
I'll tell you in a second.
Well, a matter of fact, you didn't even tell us what cheese it was.
This is the most interesting vape review I've ever watched in my entire life. I've never seen
string cheese.
I've never seen a vape reviewer pair vape juice with string cheese.
There you go.
That is quite the pair. But it is Wisconsin. I mean,
it is the capital. The capital.
When we do my box in Washington, I'm gonna eat an apple. When we go to California, John's gonna do some California stuff.
That's really good.
I am going to watch that one. I'm going to try to figure out how Anthony is going to try to work an apple in that box with all the juice. That's what I want to see, man.
Slices, baby.
So I have a question to Tom.
Yeah, my string cheese did get a little dented from sitting in there for the past hour and a half. But
you see the cheese? It's shaped like the put it back.
It looks like bottles.
Looks like a sine wave.
What do you really like it, or are we just forcing this on you?
Yeah, can you explain the notes? Like, what did you taste?
What did you taste? What was the inhale?
I gotta get fancy. Hang on, let me cleanse my palate from cheese.
A matter of fact, is that a flavor that you've tasted before?
No, it's not.
That's a unique flavor. I'm thinking about it. I think
that's one thing too that I like about flavors that are unique. It's like, we've had a million strawberries and cream. Okay. I want, something different. And that's what I like about this. Having that little rice dough, it's unique.
Too much. I definitely get the strawberry ice cream on the inhale.
Yeah.
And on the back end I'm picking up that's got to be the mochi.
Yeah.
Because it's a unique flavor.
Yeah, it's really light.
Really
it's
good.
Sweet? Is it?
Yeah.
Compare it to another something you've eaten. What would you say that would compare to?
I'm still scared.
I'm scared too, but I like Tom's responses. What would you compare it
Something I've eaten.
Rice. He says rice. I'm gonna laugh.
No.
No.
I really don't know.
Yeah, that's good though. I like that. Just like Anthony says, I like trying new things.
Yeah.
Especially something I probably never eaten before. What was that one fruit that you guys? I forget what it was, but I've never had it. And then begins with a lychee. I've never had it in my life, dude. And I was like,
lychee's great. Yeah, lychee. Vaping, I've found lots of weird flavors that you probably would never try, like star fruit and jackfruit and like stuff that's like you're not ever probably gonna find that or buy that, but man,
or
the
even
flavor's amazing.
like currants, like white currant, black currant,
Yeah,
those are phenomenal.
Yeah. That was a big flavor for me, and that was Jabo's line. I think Jabo's line introduced me to white currant. I don't think I had it in anything else but Jabo's line.
The only time I had it previous was Grim Green's line with Yig. He had some currant in his, and that was phenomenal.
Yeah, Yig. So would you recommend it? Would you recommend it?
Definitely get a bottle. And I have to say, I've been a ZampleBox member for 5 years now. Yeah. And usually I pick my juices. This one, I totally spaced on it, and I didn't, so it was completely random.
How many Wisconsin snowflakes do you give it out of 1 to 5?
I don't do that. I do cheese ratings, remember? I gave it 5 cheese squares.
Snowflakes. You give it 5? 5?
Brian's one that does snowflakes.
Oh, yeah. Brian, that's right. North Dakota. All right.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's our show. This is the part of the show where we do our goodbyes. And since Tom's already mic'd up and I'm muted, we're going to let him go second because Madison looks tired. And I'm going to let Maddie go first. I got Tom excited there. Madison, you are up for your goodbyes.
Good night.
Good night. Love her. All right. And now we will go to Tom H. there in Wisconsin. Tom?
Okay. I want to say thank you to Amanda and Char for being here. Thank you to everybody in chat for showing up. Because without you guys, we're just sitting here talking to ourselves. Check out ZampleBox.com. ZB Live 15 gets you 15% off. Go subscribe. You get awesome stuff like this mochi.
And no cheese comes in your box.
Let's stress that.
Cheese does not come in your box.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you, Tom. And Brian, you're up, buddy.
Just want to thank our guests for coming on and showing what they do and how they do it. Pleasure having Anthony back on again with us for a while. It's always good having a great conversation with everybody. Have any questions? I try to be on the chat and answer questions as we go too. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to just put them in there. That's why I don't say very much. But otherwise, you can email us too at email address below. Have any questions? Let us know. Thanks for everyone tuning in and watching. Thank you.
Yeah. And the scholar, the rocker, Tim Swift.
The only reason I have so many words at the end of the show is because I'm wearing these glasses.
You said I'm going to say you said something earlier. You said something earlier that you wear your glasses every episode, but I swear to God, I feel like this is the first time I seen you wearing your glasses. I don't know. Maybe you
need new glasses, John.
I need new glasses.
Get that man some Foster Grants, and he will have realized that I wear glasses every show.
Wait, can I bring up a comment here? Friction 2600 wants to know if Brian is Canadian.
I was reading that as I was replying. So, no, I am not.
He is not Canadian. He's close. You're close.
I'm very close.
How close are you to the border?
3.5, 4 hours.
Yeah,
you're Canadian.
Yeah, no, I'm not. What are you talking about?
Friction, he's North Decadian.
He's northy.
He's had a bowl of poutine or two in his life.
Let's put it this way. Have you seen a moose this year? Yes. Then you're Canadian.
We actually had a thing go out that
there you
said
go.
That there was a moose running along the interstate and people had to avoid it. So
see there.
It's not Canadian.
Let's let our rocker talk.
They crossed the border illegally. All right.
Yeah. Illegally.
Now that I'm on the spot, for everybody watching the show, John used to have little sound effects and stuff he would play for us. We had our own little songs and things, and one of his was about, you see the microphone, you see it. Yeah, so that would have worked. That would have worked perfect. But seriously though, I want to thank our guests for coming on, Char and Amanda. I think it was important for everyone to kind of understand exactly what they do in the vape industry as we all trudge along with this vape war that we're fighting constantly, just so we can save our lives. So they were a great guest tonight. Thank everybody for all their wonderful segments tonight, their input and everything. I don't really have too many monumental things to say tonight, except
what? The cheese threw you off. The cheese threw you off. Admit it.
It did. I was thrown off by the string cheese. No, and first off, I want to wish everybody a very happy and wonderful Halloween this year, however you're planning on spending it. Yeah. This was my costume for the year. This is Cousin It in headphones. That's exactly what
metal for Cousin It.
Cousin It in headphones. And if you all think I'm lying, there's hair that goes down below the desk there. So that said, again, for me, it's all about advocacy. If you have a chance to get over to CASA and get on your local state page, or at least CASA.org, follow those calls to action. When your voice is needed, we need you out there fighting as a community, because that's what we are. We're a community. We're here for each other, and that's why we're doing the show. We're not doing it just for ourselves. We're doing it for you guys too. So come on, join the fam. Be part of the gang. So at any rate, thank you guys. Vape on, vape strong, and all that other good stuff.
Yeah. And Mr. Anthony.
Well, guys, I gotta say I am sad to see the show go, but I'm ready to go because I got my wisdom teeth out on Monday. So for all you guys that don't know, this has been a long night, and thank you all for joining. I'll be back fully alert next week for a bright new show on next Wednesday, and I hope to see you guys there. Until then, for all the good things to come, I hope you guys all have a safe Halloween.
Yeah. I want to thank my cast. I love you guys. You guys always do an awesome job. Thank you to Char and Amanda for coming on and helping everyone understand what they do. I'm really glad that Brian brought them up, because I think it's amazing what they're doing and helping the community, and like we talked about before the show went on, and is about just how much love there is in this community for each other, and how many new friendships are made, and it's just amazing to me, because I belong to a lot of groups and adult groups, like the Elks Club and stuff like that. But it's just amazing to see I say Elks Club.
The adult groups. The adult groups.
Yeah. But the friendship, it's just amazing. It's just amazing to see all the friendships that are created from vaping, and it blows me away. I've never met any of these guys here that's on this panel. And just seeing
from across the country.
Look at
these friendships. Come on.
Yeah,
you want to be our friend. Come on.
It blows me away. It really does blow me away just to see. And it's not just in the ZampleBox. It's the whole community. I see it with reviewers and the friendships. And it's just these guys met one time at a vape show. And they've just become best friends. And it's just amazing to me. And I love that organizations like AVM are doing that to help the smaller businesses stay afloat and not have them disappear, which means more juice for us, more flavors for us. So thank you again. Let me see here. I got a few things. Let me go down here. My final thoughts here. If you're new to ZampleBox channel, please hit the subscribe button and hit the little bell there. You see that little bell? And that'll let you guys know, notify you guys when new content is up. I want to thank you guys all for joining us tonight, and we'll see you guys next Wednesday at 6 p.m. I'm going to do all the times because everybody gets so mad at me because I don't do all the time zones.
6 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Mountain Central time, 8 p.m. Mid-East time, and 9 p.m. Far East time.
Anthony just got the time zone job on the show.
Thank you, Anthony.
I got this.
We did the math for you guys. We'll see you guys all next Wednesday on the ZampleBox channel, and thank you again.
Thank you.